Okay. And so let's begin, and I will ask Leslie if she's so kind to share the first 3 slides, and we will begin with presenting ICIS, though, okay, probably we are old friends somehow, okay, and let me see, no, don't worry, or Andrea maybe, okay.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, yeah. Yes, and this is us, okay? TESOL Intercultural Communication Intersection. And what is intercultural communication intersection? It addresses the ever-growing needs of a language teacher, whatever level they are, who must engage in intercultural communication even when they are teaching in their home countries, not only when they're traveling abroad, but at our homes. And we facilitate webinars, okay, practice focus, informal coffee hours like this one, academic panels, pecha and lightning talks, which is where the emerging scholars, okay, tell us about their progress in their research. And we have the regular newsletter issues, and we have at present Amina, who is the editor, and much more, okay? And just the next one, okay, that we can also show later on is how you find us. So through TESOL, of course, international, and through my TESOL portal, as you can see, okay? And also you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And now let me present Amy, and it is a particular honor for me to do that, okay? Because apart from being my friend, poor her, to say the truth, okay? She is also responsible. She's the one that invited me first into this group. It was back in 2015. We were in Toronto, and with her in a warming smile, she said, Barbara, why don't you come, okay, among us? I came and stayed, okay, and so here we are, okay. So Amy has an incredible international experiences at her back. She's at present in Iowa. She's the associate professor of instruction and outreach coordinator. And if you look at all the courses and seminars and focus groups she runs, okay, you can find a lot of interculturality in it, okay? So for example, intercultural communication and engagement, engaging interculturally, interacting interculturally, student focus section of college success seminar. And I was also quite interested in the fact that she produced an intensive English course for special students from Yamanashi University in Japan. So even if Amy stays in the United States, somehow, okay, as we will see also later on, she deals, okay, with the world. Before that, she was teaching in Abu Dhabi and was also, I think, promoting, okay, Abu Dhabi University. And here I have a title that I like very much, using ethnodrama to teach skills in language support classes. From the beginning, Amy likes linking interculturality and intellectual, findings and research with art, and also I have seen with yoga teaching, okay? And she was a yoga teacher from very old times. Before coming, to Abu Dhabi, she stayed in China, in Beijing, and in Shantou University. And she there not only coordinated, but founded certain courses. For example, integrated skills course focused on intercultural communication. And she was the coordinator of collaborative intercultural communication component. And before that in Beijing. And now she's also the president of Global Ties. And whenever I happen to hear her nowadays more on WhatsApp than in person. Okay, she says, "Oh, I'm hosting a Somali group. Oh, the Pakistani group just left, and oh, there was someone from Bangladesh. Okay, that asked this and this and this. Okay, and so somehow it seems that wherever she's staying, she's dealing with the world somehow. Okay, and I think that story stitch is also one of your passions, right?
It is.
So I
Three in the last like week and a half, I think.
Okay, Annie, to you.
Okay, to me.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. Am I sharing or someone else sharing?
I will share. I will
Okay,
share.
thank you.
It looks like we had an imposter a little bit earlier, so I apologize about that, and I removed them.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
we were all going for removing it really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Okay. Yeah, so this is one of my passions, as Barbara said, and I didn't know I sounded like that kind of person until Barbara introduced me. I'm still not sure about the old times thing, but I know Josie caught that too. I saw we both were like, yeah, it was the 90s, but that's not old times. Come on. So welcome. ICIS is near and dear to my heart. I was part of this leadership team for a decade until I had to step down recently because I just have way too many things on my plate, as you heard from Barbara, including Bangladeshis eating at my table just last Saturday. So this is near and dear to my heart. I'm so happy that you're here to take part in this. It's just such a lovely part of the day whenever it happens. So we can jump right in. I want to give you a little bit of background to what we're doing. And first, because this is designed to give everyone voice and to encourage empathy and understanding, we want to first acknowledge that we're joining here from all over the place. So these statements are going to be relevant to different degrees for all of us, that we are largely uninvited guests on Indigenous territories. We are descendants of colonizers, enslavers, freedom seekers, and the Indigenous people are our original storytellers. And so we are honoring that tradition today. So Story Stitch was developed by some dear individuals who I know and have worked with and presented with at Green Card Voices, that is situated in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And it was founded on empathy, mindful listening, and story exchange. And so we'll jump right into the empathy. And so empathy and a couple of quotes you're going to see on your screen, you can keep going, Andrea, are from the same book that the founder of Green Card Voices had read, and it was really impactful for her. So here's that definition. Empathy is the art of stepping imaginatively into the shoes of another person, understanding their feelings and perspectives, and using that understanding to guide your actions. And the next slide is going to show us what happens in the brain when we experience empathy. And you can see, I want you to notice these are mirror images and not the same image, so that you see that the part of the brain that is active when we experience empathy is the same part of the brain where we experience pain. And so this is why this is such a powerful emotion and experience, and why it connects us so strongly to others. And then the second is mindful listening. And so I just want to highlight the difference between hearing and listening. And so what we're doing today is very focused. It's voluntary. We didn't have to show up here. And it's intentional. And so this is when we are truly trying to understand what people are saying. We want to understand what they're saying. And the next is also the definition of mindful listening from that same work that was foundational for Taya Roseman Clark. Mindful listening is the ability to be present with another, to listen without judging, refuting, or interrupting what is being said. And that's sort of foundational for the way Story Stitch works, as you'll see as we move into the instructions in just a moment. And so I think these got, yeah. And then finally, so the story exchange is that last component: empathy, mindful listening, story exchange. And you'll see briefly on the next slide, but we're going to come back to it, how the Story Stitch cards actually work. And so this is an image of a card. There'll be a couple of other opportunities with images on your screen if you'd like to take a screenshot or a picture with your phone to use that to stitch during the play. But you could also just grab 3 different things nearby, like a pin, a button, some lens cleaner, any 3 objects that could help you kind of keep track of your 3 additional turns or opportunities to contribute. But again, we'll get into that a little bit more. So next I want to move into ground rules. And these are really important and foundational for us to agree upon. And so the first one is be brave and vulnerable. And this is to whatever extent that you're comfortable. The second one is about listening attentively and not interrupting. As we talked about, this is kind of the premise of mindful listening. And so we can still admit people until the next slide. So the next is, remember, you are in charge of your story. Tell only what you want to share. There is a possibility that someone could ask a question. Generally, these are geared toward more clarifying questions, just again to foster understanding. But someone may ask a question about your story. Maybe it was a part that you didn't share, and it doesn't mean that you have to share that part. So make sure that you are in control of how much you want to share. And of course, we're respectful of others' stories and the courage that it may have taken for them to share that story. We want to learn about each other through the stories that are shared and the conversations that it might ignite. And we want to respect the other stories and privacy. And so, as we mentioned, the recording will stop after these instructions to respect that space. And we ask that when you leave here, the only story that you leave with is yours and about your experience, and not going on to retell others' stories that they shared today. And this last part, specifically for white American bodies and voices, but it could apply at different times to others as well. But we want to be especially mindful about those of us that identify as white American, to turn off your video and audio if you are experiencing overwhelming emotions, so as not to decenter a story that's being shared by someone else. Especially from any of our Black, Indigenous, or people of color friends that might be participating. And so at this point, we'll put up the questions or additions slide. We always want to make it possible for the people who have assembled here today in the group to add to these ground rules. So if there's something that you have used in similar situations, or you just feel led in the moment to say, hey, I think this should be part of our ground rules and our agreements, now is an opportunity to share, either unmuted or in the chat. Any other questions about anything I've shared so far? All right, well, let's get started. All right, so I'm going to go through the instructions first. We'll start by introducing ourselves to the group. Yeah, and you want to, I would go ahead and stop recording just in case we forget. Oh, but not stop sharing.